Ever get that feeling that, life has this way of kind of balancing things out, like
Yeah.
what goes around comes around.
Hmm.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into karma,
Okay.
but not like the, watered down version.
Right.
We're going deep.
Yeah.
Ancient Buddhist texts,
Okay.
epic tales,
Mm.
Mahabharata, Ramayana.
Oh, wow.
We even got some old Indian law codes.
Really? That's going to be fascinating to see how karma was understood before it became associated with Buddhism.
Yeah, we've got some really cool excerpts from this book, Karma, What It Is, What It Isn't, Why It Matters, by Trelig Kyabgon.
Okay.
And it's got a foreword by the 17th Karmapa himself.
Oh, wow.
So get ready, because this is going to be eye-opening.
Yeah.
We're going to learn how karma really works.
One of the things that's really surprising is that karma wasn't always about individual actions.
Oh, okay. See, that's not how I usually think about it. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so in these early Indian texts, like the emphasis is on family and community, and they believed that what you did could like directly impact your ancestors
Wow.
to the point where they could like fall out of heaven.
Okay, so you'd really feel the weight of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so this early karma, they saw it almost like a contagious substance, like good and bad.
Right?
You could transfer it,
Oh, well.
even steal it.
Like you could steal someone's good karma.
Yeah, so it wasn't really about personal accountability. It was
Yeah.
like this shared burden.
So less about what you do and more about the family you come from.
Exactly, yeah. Like imagine living in a world where you could lose your fortune just because someone gave you the evil eye.
Right?
That's how potent they thought this early form of karma was.
Okay. So that's a very different idea than the sort of, you reap what you sow idea that we hear a lot about today.
Right.
So how did we get from that idea to this idea of individual responsibility?
Well, that's when the Buddha comes onto the scene.
Okay.
And his teachings like revolutionized how people understood karma.
All right. So now tell me about that. What did the Buddha have to say?
Well, he shifted that focus inward.
Okay.
It became about personal accountability.
Right.
Like, no more blaming great-great-grandpa for your bad luck.
Right.
You're responsible for your own actions.
Okay. That makes sense. But then it also kind of makes me wonder, well, if it's all about me, then who is me?
Right. And that's where the Buddha introduced this idea of the 5 aggregates.
Okay. The 5 aggregates. Tell me about this.
All right. So think of it this way. He saw the self as this combination of 5 elements: your body, your feelings, your perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness.
Okay, so instead of thinking about like a soul, a fixed soul,
Yeah.
he's saying it's more like a dynamic system that's always changing.
Exactly. Yeah. And these 5 elements are like, they're always interacting and influencing each other.
Okay.
So you don't have this fixed self that's predetermined. Every action you take, even every thought you have, can change who you become.
Wow. So that really changes things up.
Completely. It means you're not bound by fate. You have the power to transform through your actions.
So it's not like this scorecard in the sky judging my every move.
Not at all. In fact, the Buddha used this really great analogy to explain this. He compared actions to seeds.
Seeds, how does that work?
All right, so imagine you plant a seed, right? It needs the right conditions to grow.
Okay, yeah. Good soil, sun, water.
Exactly. And even then, you can't guarantee it's going to sprout.
Right.
So it's the same with our actions.
Yeah. So you're saying, like, even if I've made some, not so great choices in the past, doesn't mean I'm doomed.
Right. You can always plant new seeds,
Okay.
new habits,
Yeah.
and change how things are going.
Oh, okay. So there's hope.
Lots of hope, yeah. The Buddha said that even if someone's had a really tough life, if they have a genuine change of heart, even at the moment of death, it can shift their whole trajectory.
Really? So even at the very end, you can change your karma.
Yeah. It's about the power of intention. Of course, he wouldn't recommend waiting to the last minute.
Right. Start planting those seeds now. Okay, so we've been talking about actions, but you mentioned earlier that character also plays a role.
Yes.
So how does that fit in?
Well, the Buddha taught that it's not just about what you do, but it's about the kind of person you become.
Okay.
So a good person who does something negative, it's going to have a different karmic impact than someone who's always doing bad things.
So the motivation behind the action is important.
Very important, yeah. He was all about cultivating these positive qualities like compassion, generosity, wisdom. These things shape your character, and that influences your actions, which ultimately creates a better karmic, environment.
So it's not just about like, avoiding bad things. It's about working on becoming a better person.
Exactly. It's about understanding that what you do affects not just you, but everyone around you.
Mm. Okay. That makes me think about karma in a different way. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not about punishment. It's about growth.
It's about understanding how everything's connected and how we all have the power to shape not only our own destinies, but the world around us.
Yeah, that is really interesting. But before we get into that, I think this is a good place to pause. We've covered a lot already. We talked about these ancient origins of karma, the Buddhist teachings on individual responsibility, and this transformative power of intention.
Right.
But there's more, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it really is amazing how much depth there is to this concept.
It is, and we've only just like scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to learn more about how our inner world plays into this,
Right.
our thoughts and emotions.
That's a great question, and it leads us to another really fascinating aspect of the Buddha's teaching.
Okay.
This connection between our physical and mental states.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Yeah.
How do our bodies and minds affect our karma?
Well, remember in those early Indian texts, we talked about how karma was almost seen as like a physical substance?
Yeah, like something you could pass around,
Yeah.
steal even.
The Buddha, he didn't completely dismiss that idea. He recognized the importance of the physical world. The 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space.
So he was acknowledging that material reality, but adding to it.
Exactly. And he connected those 5 elements not just to our physical bodies, but to our mental and emotional experiences through the 5 aggregates:
Okay.
body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness.
So he's saying our physical and mental states are connected and both influence our karma.
That's right. And this interconnectedness is always shaping our karmic process. Remember that seed analogy?
Yeah, our actions are the seeds.
Right. They need
And-
fertile ground to grow.
Yeah, the right conditions.
Our physical and mental states, they create the conditions,
Yeah.
the soil where those karmic seeds can take root.
Okay.
So if we're constantly angry or stressed, it's like planting those seeds in like barren, rocky soil.
But if you have like a peaceful mind,
Right.
that's more fertile ground.
Exactly. The Buddha taught that we can actually train our minds to create better conditions for positive karma to grow.
That makes me think of like mindfulness practices.
Exactly.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, the Buddha was all about mindfulness, paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and sensations,
Okay.
because that's how you understand how they influence your actions and your karma.
So mindfulness isn't just about relaxing. It's like a tool to shape your karma.
Exactly. By becoming aware of what's happening inside, you can make choices that lead to better karmic outcomes.
Okay, so this is making me rethink this whole idea of like good karma and bad karma.
Right.
Is it really that black and white?
It's more nuanced than that. The Buddha didn't see it as the simple reward and punishment system. It's a web of cause and effect.
Right.
Every action creates consequences, but you might not see those consequences right away.
So it's not always instant karma.
Right. Sometimes those karmic seeds, they can stay hidden for a long time before they sprout. But the Buddha emphasized that actions always have consequences, even if we don't see them immediately.
Okay, that's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It seems like to really navigate this whole karmic landscape,
Yeah.
you need a whole new way of looking at the world.
You do. The Buddha gives some guidance, though, on how to navigate this whole journey. He talked about cultivating wholesome qualities, like generosity, kindness, compassion, wisdom.
So it's not just about avoiding the negative, but actively creating the positive.
Absolutely. Those positive qualities create this ripple effect. They impact not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you.
Okay, this is making me realize that to understand karma, we need to understand ourselves, our motivations, and that things are always changing. Didn't the Buddha talk about that impermanence?
Yeah, he called it inaka.
Anika. I've heard that word before. Isn't that like the idea that nothing lasts forever?
Yeah, that's it. Our thoughts, feelings, relationships, the world around us, it's all in a state of constant change. Nothing stays the same.
So how does that relate to karma?
When we cling to the idea of like a fixed self or permanent reality, that's when we suffer.
Okay.
And that attachment creates this craving and aversion, which fuels negative karma.
So the more we get attached, the more we suffer, and the more negative karma we create.
Yeah, that's a big part of Buddhist thought. The Buddha taught that by understanding impermanence, we can let go of attachment, and that creates space for peace and compassion.
So it's like that saying, the only constant is change.
Exactly. The more we resist change, the more we suffer. Recognizing and accepting impermanence allows us to flow with life.
Okay.
It reduces suffering and creates a more positive karmic environment.
So understanding Anika is key to taking ownership of our karmic journey.
It changes everything. Instead of seeing karma as these fixed rules, you start to see it as this dynamic process that you can influence through understanding and mindful action.
This is a lot to process.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see that karma isn't about fate or destiny. It's about making choices that align with our values.
That's a great insight. The Buddha's message is ultimately one of empowerment. He taught that we have the power to shape our own karmic journey, both individually and collectively.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
But it also feels like a big responsibility. If everything is interconnected, what about those things that seem to just happen randomly, like accidents or natural disasters? Are those karmic too?
That's a question that people have struggled with for centuries. The Buddha acknowledged that not everything is a direct result of our individual actions.
Right.
There are forces beyond our control,
Yeah.
like the weather or the actions of others.
So he wasn't saying that every single event is like directly caused by our personal karma.
No. But he did say that even in those situations, we have a choice in how we respond.
Okay.
Our reactions, our thoughts and emotions in those tough situations, they also create karmic energy.
So it's not about controlling what happens to us, but controlling how we react to those events.
Yeah. That highlights the importance of cultivating resilience, compassion, and understanding when we face those challenges.
This makes me think about how quick we are to blame ourselves or others when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Is that a karmic perspective?
The Buddha actually cautioned against blame. He saw it as a way of pushing away unpleasant experiences. Instead, he encouraged understanding, looking at the causes and conditions that led to a situation, and responding with compassion.
So instead of getting stuck in that blame game, we should aim for understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that even difficult experiences offer opportunities for learning
Right.
and transformation.
Yeah, it's a very different way of looking at the world.
It is.
Not as chaos or fate, but this interconnected web where we can actually make choices
Yeah.
that shape our lives and the lives of others.
That's the heart of the Buddha's teaching on karma. It's a message of responsibility, compassion, and hope. And speaking of hope, there's one more fascinating aspect of karma we need to explore.
Okay.
The power of collective karma.
Collective karma. I like the sound of that. Tell me more. Collective karma. So it's like we're all in this together, karmically.
Yeah, that's the idea. Just like our own actions have consequences, so does the actions of groups, communities, even nations.
So it's not just about my own choices, but about what the people around me are doing too.
Exactly. The Buddha taught that we're all connected. And our actions, both individually and as a group, they all contribute to this overall karmic balance in the world.
Okay, so this is making me think about all the big problems we see today.
Yeah.
War, climate change, social injustice. Are those examples of this collective karma?
It definitely plays a role. The Buddha said that negative collective karma can show up as widespread suffering, conflict, and imbalance in the world.
So it's like we're all dealing with the consequences of our actions together.
Exactly. But here's the good news. The Buddha also said that we have the power to create positive change together.
So it's not all bad news.
No. Just like negative karma leads to suffering, positive karma can create peace, harmony, and well-being.
So we can actually shift the balance.
That's right. It starts with each of us taking responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions, and then working together to make the world a better place.
So it's not just about finding enlightenment for ourselves.
Right. It's about seeing how we're all connected and working to create a better future for everyone. The Buddha's teachings are really helpful for figuring out how to navigate these crazy times. They remind us that we're not just victims of fate, we can actually shape our own destiny.
Yeah, that's really empowering.
It is. It's a call to action to work together for the good of all.
Wow. This has been an amazing deep dive.
Yeah.
We went deep into those ancient texts and really unpacked karma.
Ah.
I feel like I have a better understanding of this whole concept.
Me too. It's amazing how relevant these teachings still are today.
They really are. So listener, as you go about your day, think about what kind of karmic seeds you're planting. What kind of impact are your thoughts, words, and actions having on your journey and on the world around you? It's something to think about. It's a journey we're all on, and the future is ours to create.